Hi everyone, I'm Luke Bagwell. I'm a C16 software developer, and this is article number 1 of the Programmer's Guide to the Kismet tool. It's June 4th, 2011, and this is being developed using the May 2011 build of the Unreal Development Kit. And the purpose of this article is going to be to show you how, as a programmer, you can use Kismet and Unreal Script to make custom events, custom actions, and to give your level designers and non-programmers a whole lot greater degree of versatility when it comes to using the Kismet tool for development. And so, to begin with, we're going to go into our package that's going to contain our custom Kismet code. And so in my case, I made a package called just custom Kismet, and in that you can find our game, player controller, our custom action, and our custom event. And so to begin with, we're going to start it out by just looking at our custom action. And so the purpose of this article and this video is going to be to show not just how to make custom events and actions in Kismet using Unreal Script, but how to import them into the Kismet editor, and to give a little of an overview on how they actually work. And so, to begin with, we're going to make our class, and it's going to be called SecAct do 10 damage, and it extends from the sequence action class. The sequence action class is the base class for all Kismet events or Kismet actions. So any custom action that you make in Kismet, you have to extend from that class. The default properties here serve to set up how we access the action in the Kismet browser, as well as to what method the action calls. And so the object name is the name that the object has in the Kismet browser. In this case, we named it 10 damage action, but we could just as easily name it anything we wanted to. We would just have to remember what we named it so that we could access it in the Kismet browser. Likewise, the object category is the category of actions that this action resides under in the Kismet browser. In this case, we named it to be My Custom Kismet Actions. So this action resides in the Kismet browser under the menu My Custom Kismet Actions with the name of 10 damage action. And you'll see more of this when we actually get around to looking at these in the Kismet browser. Also important is this property, the handler name. And the handler name is the method or function that this action calls in the target that it is currently linked to. In this case, we're going to have it linked to our player controller, and it calls a method named do 10 damage. And this method is going to be called every time it triggers, based on however many times, the maximum number of times that we want this action to trigger. And so let's look at this method in our player controller. And here you can see we extend from UT player controller. Otherwise, you'll get all kinds of bizarre errors and glitches. But here's the function. We have a function called do 10 damage, and then note that the function name is the exact same as what's in the quotations of the handler name property. But also pay close attention to this, because this will come in. This will be important later when we choose to make it so that we can deal any amount of damage through our class in our action. It takes in the action that called it. This is by default, and it happens just behind the scenes. You don't have to do anything about it. And inside of here, you can access any of actions, properties, or variables just using action and the dot operator. So that comes in handy later. Here is just where we call take damage with the value of 10. And these are just the various parameters that you need to make it behave how you want it to behave. And so this action, when triggered, calls do 10 damage in the object that it's linked to, which in our case is going to be the player controller, goes into here, and then it actually does all of the processing in this method. So this method doesn't actually do a whole lot. It just serves as kind of a wrapper to call other functions. And that's kind of a fundamentally important concept to understand if you're going to be working a lot with actions or events in Kismet. And so that's an overview of the custom Kismet action. So now let's look at our custom Kismet event. You can see we have a class called SecEvent, my custom Kismet event, and it extends from sequence event just like the action extends from sequence action. In Kismet, all Kismet events derive from sequence events, so to have our event actually work like it should and compile and all of that, you have to extend from this. We have the same default properties, pretty much. We have object name, object category. They behave the exact same way that they would in our Kismet action. So the only new property is this be player only, and this is a Boolean variable, as you can tell, because it's got a false value. And what it means is that it decides whether or not the event can be triggered by any actor in the level, or if the event can only be triggered by the player. In our case, we have it set to false, so this event can be triggered by any actor in our level. And then so we have an event, a function called activated, that has an event return type. And this method is called whenever this event is activated. And all it does right now is it prints to the log strings that reads event activated. Later on in the tutorial, we're going to be making it to where it'll print any message the level designers want it to, and our action will do any amount of damage that we want it to. And so, let's see. To continue on, that's how we develop our custom Kismet event and our custom Kismet action. So now we have to figure out how to actually access these in code. So now that we've gone through the Kismet event and Kismet action from a code perspective, that's going to be the end of part 1 of our tutorial. And in part 2 of the Programmer's Guide to Kismet, we're going to focus on how to actually import these actions and events into Kismet and how to access them. And then as well as how to make custom properties that will give us a much higher degree of versatility with our events and actions. Thank you.